This is my story from NICU mama to a NICU nurse. My name is Tiffany Angel, and I am a 40-year-old mother to 4. I am also a wife, and I work full-time as a medical laboratory scientist in a local hospital. I have decided to change my career path for a new adventure as a neonatal intensive care unit nurse. And my path to this is a little bit different than most, as I was once a neonatal intensive care unit mama watching my baby grow. In March of 2020, our son, our 4th child, was born prematurely. While basketball tournaments were being canceled, while schools were being closed, I was giving birth suddenly and very unexpectedly 9 weeks early to our 4th child. While my kids walked out of school that day, not knowing that they wouldn't be going back for close to a year and a half, I was in the hospital giving birth to their 4th sibling. It was the scariest and unknowing time of my entire life. Living in the neonatal intensive care unit for weeks, waiting for my tiny baby to grow, watching the nurses take care of my small baby, gave me the push to eventually become and go after the career that I've always wanted. For 16 years, I have been a medical laboratory scientist. For 12 of those years, I have worked in the same hospital. I'm considered a charge tech, which is a go-to for other techs to help answer problems, answer questions, and make sure that the results get to the patient's charts as efficiently and effectively as possible. I am also a mother when I'm not working. I have 4 children, a 16-year-old who's about to be a sophomore in high school, a 14-year-old who's about to be a freshman. I have a 6-year-old who's about to go into 1st grade, and we have our 3-year-old who just started preschool last week. On March 12th, 2020, our youngest child was born 9 weeks prematurely. On March 13th, 2020, visitor restrictions were placed in the hospital due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Those restrictions included only the visitors of the mother and the father, or the 2 guardians, were allowed to visit the baby growing in the NICU, meaning that my husband and I were unable to have support of our friends and family while we were going through this very scary time. Within a week, the hospital placed even stricter restrictions on patients for the hospital, meaning that not only 1 visitor was allowed for each patient, ultimately meaning for our family that I was the only visitor allowed to visit our son. This meant that I would spend hours and days and weeks alone in the neonatal intensive care unit by myself while the COVID-19 pandemic was raging outside the hospital walls. Meanwhile, my husband was home with our 3 children, navigating with them the outside world during the first days of the pandemic. Finally, after 5.5 weeks, our son was big enough and healthy enough to go home. And Mom and baby were able to go home to our family. In April 2023, with my children growing and turning 40, I decided that I had given lab all that I had, and that it was time to head back to school to do the career that I've always wanted. So, with the support of my husband, my family, and my friends, I enrolled to be a BSN RN. In conclusion, I have absolutely no regrets of going back to school. My biggest push is my kids, having them see me do things that I never thought I could do, showing them that it's possible to put one foot in front of the other and do things that we didn't think we could do. My other biggest push is the NICU parents that I see roaming the hallways of the hospital, knowing that someday I will be up there with them, helping them navigate the unknowns, the scariness, and the loneliness of the neonatal intensive care unit. I think by showing them that I've been there, that I know what it's like, I can relate to them, and give them that push and that feeling of not being so alone. I imagine that next Tiffany, rocking in the rocking chair next to that tiny baby in the tiny isolette, thinking that her life will never be the same, and being able to hold her hand and tell her that in fact everything will be okay. Thank you.